Now, you ever wonder who sent the dynamic duo after all those costume crooks? No, it wasn't Commissioner Gordon or Chief O'Hara. It was our next guest who wrote 36 episodes of Batman. Say hello to writer Stanley Ralph Ross. Stanley? By the two of them to kiss Catwoman.
Of course. Are you kidding? That was my creation. I mean, I remember the first time I sat down to write a Catwoman thing, and I said, seeing as how I'm so twisted and so sensuous, I thought right away I'm going to write a love relationship between her and Batman just to delight the adults. You know, the kids were watching Bam and Thwack and... Thwaite? No, I don't remember that one.
Well, the audience ranged from what age to what age? And there was
I guess they ranged from about 4 to 90. You know, I mean, we got reviews from the New Yorker, which said wonderful show. So I think the audience was anybody who liked good entertainment.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun. I know I didn't miss an episode. And you had those great cliffhangers. There was that.
That was the hardest part about it. That really was. I remember one time I wrote one show where you guys were lying out in the middle of the street, and there were like 1,000 head of cattle coming after you. It was Shane, right? It was Shane. And I wrote the thing, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. I mean, I wrote up to the cliffhanger, and then I got stuck. And my son Andy was about 8 at the time, and I asked him what would he do, and he came up with the answer.
Matador.
That's right. Yeah. The answer was that Batman was able to free his hands, and he took off his cape, and 1,000 head of cattle went by, and he went, ole!
What were some of your favorite plot lines that you came up with for this show?
I liked the one I wrote where I had Batman marry Catwoman, and that was the one that Eartha Kitt replaced you, because you were doing McKenna's Gold, I think. And I'd written a love scene between her, and they were going to get married. She was forcing him to marry her. They were going to be married by the captain of the Staten Island ferry. And everybody was complaining because Eartha's black, and they said miscegenation. I said, come on, this is a fantasy. This is Batman. And they said, oh, okay, like that. And did a couple of shows where we had some intriguing plots. We had an egghead. What was the one where you stole the voices of Chad and Jeremy?
Yeah, put it in the box.
Yeah, put the voices of Chad and Jeremy in a box. And she was holding up the entire country of England for $10 million for their voices.
So basically anything went. When you guys were sitting around in a room, you'd think of things.
No, we didn't sit around in a room. We didn't. There was no such thing as sitting around in a room. Anything went. I would just take my wildest dreams and write them, and they paid me for them.
Well, what happened is they let him out to write the shows, and they put him back afterwards.
They had him back in... Did the censors ever give you a hard time?
Yes. I used to write obscure, dirty words in foreign languages as the names of characters. But they were in like archaic French or archaic Swedish. And we started getting some letters in from people who were linguists. And they said, oh, very funny, that word you used. So they came after me. They said, you can't do that anymore, Stanley. So I'd written one show where we had an Arab, and I called him the Miffentif of Ferderber. And they said, that sounds dirty. I said, it's not. They said, sounds dirty, change it. So I changed it to Sheikh Ibn Kirab, which in Arabic means S.O.B. We just got a couple of letters from the Arab League, but that was about it.
You had another villain or a prop. What was it, Ronnie?
Oh, yeah. This is the only time they really censored me. I'd written a weapon where the characters zapped Batman and Robin and took the third dimension out of them and made them into cardboard cutouts, and they were slipped under the door of the commissioner. And then I think Chief O'Hara put his hand on Robin and said, my goodness, there's a pulse. So I wanted to name the weapon something interesting, so I called it the Ronald Ray Gun.
And they said no?
Yeah, they said no. They said, he's our governor. At the time, he was our governor. So I changed it to the Alvino Ray Gun. Now, you got to know, Alvino Ray was an old-time band leader from the 40s. And, 4 people who played with Tommy Dorsey laughed, but I laughed.
Now, were the actors occasionally coming to you as a writer saying, hey, you got to pad our part, you got to do...
This one here. This
Oh,
one
Burt?
here.
Oh, you talking about Adam?
No, you.
Nope.
One time he said to me, he says, you know, Stanley, you're really not writing me enough. So the next show, I wrote an enormous part from... I mean, I had him doing everything, and he was very tired at the end of the show, and he came to me, Stanley, you're writing me too much. So I got even with him. In the next show, I had him kidnapped on page 6. And not found till page 51. And all I did was talk about him in the show, but he was sitting off to the side. He came up to me after, he said, that's it, Stanley, I'll leave you alone. And we became very good friends. We still are good friends. As a matter of fact, I am Burt Ward's minister. I married Burt to his lovely wife, Mariana, on August the 10th, 3 years ago.
Now, I've asked everybody what they're up to these days. What are you working on nowadays?
Well, I in the last 3 years, I co-wrote with J. Robert Nash the encyclopedia of every movie ever made. It's called the Motion Picture Guide. It's this big. It weighs 90 pounds. It's every movie. It's a synopsis. It's all the credits. Every movie ever made. And the worst part about having written it is trying to lift it. Whenever I go on radio tours or television tours, they ask me for the books, and I got to schlep these books in. And you can really get a hernia from carrying these books. But it's the Motion Picture Guide. We publish at Cinebooks in Evanston, Illinois.
Well, Stanley, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for sharing with us all of the adventures you had on the show. Stanley Ralph Ross, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break and meet Batgirl right after this. Don't go away.
Don't go away. We'll be back with the battling beauties that drives all the boys batty. Batgirl, Yvonne Craig, next.